Budu Saranai. Today we have Venerable Vajirarame Jnanasiya Thero and Bhante Suseela and Venerable Theros and our our committee members, special invitees and all participants. Today is Il Full Moon Poya Day and the International Dhamma program. As we do normally, we will be conducting the Poya Day Dhamma session. So today we are, as Il Full Moon Poya Day, all of you will know that this is the end of or marks the end of the rainy season, although in Sri Lanka it has been raining very heavily and there have been a lot of floods, but traditionally we have been using that, and it's a conclusion of the 3-month retreat or the Vaskali. And all of you would have experienced the Katina Pinkama that has been done in each of the temples. And today is the last Poya day for the conclusion of the Katina Pinkama. So I think all of you must today, I too was very much involved with our temple Katina Pinkama from last night to this evening with the Katina Anusasana that was carried out. So today's main program, I'm indeed happy that we have been able to invite Bhante Suseela, who is based in Canada and one of the very important priests who will be speaking to us on how samsaric cycles exist through the 6 sensory objects followed by Satipatthana Sutta. So we are very thankful and pay merit to Bhante Suseela for accepting our invitation. And I must also thank our committee member, Mr. Senaka Samarasinghe, who is based in Winnipeg, Canada, for the invitation extended to Bhante to deliver this Dhamma program. So I will now invite Senaka to briefly introduce Bhante before we commence our program. Senaka, over to you.
Respected Venerable Sir, it is my privilege to introduce Bhante Suseela to conduct Dhamma sermon for International Dhamma program, which was started towards late 2020. Bhante Suseela is the 16th monk that I am introducing for this program. Bhante Suseela is the spiritual director and chief resident monk of Alberta Insight Meditation Center. He is responsible for conducting mindfulness sessions, meditation retreats, personal spiritual guidance for needy families, and conduct meditation sessions at libraries within the province of Alberta. Everyone, Saranai.
Thank you, Senaka. Bhante, I will now invite Bhante to deliver Pansil and then commence the Dhamma program. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Please recite Namo Tassa to observe precepts.
Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa.
Buddhang Saranam Gacchami.
Buddhang Saranang Gacchami.
Dhammang Saranam Gacchami.
Dhammang Saranang Gacchami.
Sanghang Saranam Gacchami.
Dhang Saranang Gacchami.
Tutiyang pi Buddhang Saranam Gacchami.
Yampi Buddhang Saranang Gacchami.
Tutiyang pi Dhammang Saranam Gacchami.
Yampi Dhammang Saranang Gacchami.
Dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Yampi sanghang saranam gacchami.
Atiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Yampi buddhang saranam gacchami.
Atiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Yampi dhammam saranam gacchami.
Atiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Yampi sanghang saranam gacchami.
Saranaagamanang sampunnang.
Ambante
Panatipata veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Atipatha Veramani Sikkhapadam Samadhiyami.
Adinādāna veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Innadana Veramani Sikkhapadam Samadhiyami.
Kāmesu micchāchārā veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Amesu Miccāchārā Veramani Sikkhapadam Samadhiyami.
Musāvādā veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Savada Veramani Sikkhapadam Samadhiyami.
Suramēraya majjapamādaṭṭhāna veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Amire Majjapamadattana Veramani Sikkhapadam Samadhiyami.
Tisaranena saddhiṃ pañcasīlaṃ dhammāṃ sādhukam surakkhitam khatva appamādena sampādē tabbang.
Ambante
Samantā cakkavālesu atrā gacchang devata saddhammang munirājassa sunantu sagga mokkhadan dhammස්සවන කාලෝ අයං භදන්තා ධම්මස්සවන කාලෝ අයං භදන්තා ධම්මස්සවන කාලෝ අයං භදන්තා නමෝ තස්ස භගවතෝ අරහතෝ සම්මා සංබුද්දස්ස නමෝ තස්ස භගවතෝ අරහතෝ සම්මා සංබුද්දස්ස නමෝ තස්ස භගවතෝ අරහතෝ සම්මා සංබුද්දස්ස සාදු සාදු සාදු. Dear Bhantes and dear Dhamma friends who have joining from different places in the planet, and it is 5:39 a.m. in Alberta, and I'm happy to be here, and thank you for Professor Wattawala having me as a speaker today, and thank you Senaka Samarasinghe for introducing me to this program. And now we are going to start our conversation as I suggested the topic. So I will share my screen, then let's begin the conversation here. So today is full moon day, November full moon day, which is important for the Buddhist as we concluded the rains period, which was started in August this year. After completing this period, then monks going to start their travels to propagate the Dhamma again, but it is completely different to the Buddha's time. Things has changed much and very much today because of these different experiences of the world. However, the Buddha's Dhamma is still alive. The Dhamma is still alive and it is practical. The sermon today is going to talk about how we can understand and what we have to understand about the senses. These sensory experiences, how they are going to create this samsaric cycle for us. In the connected discourses in Salayatana Samyutta, the Buddha has explained it very well in numerous sutras. And today I'm going to pay attention to Satipatthana Sutra, which is for foundation of mindfulness. It is also a portion of the mind objects section. The sixth sense is very important for all beings. Before I go through these teachings, I would like to get your attention about a specific thing about these six senses. We all were lucky to be a human. You all are lucky to be a human. Sometimes people think that having this human life is spontaneous, which is not. We are here for reasons. We came to this world because of reasons. According to the teachings of the Buddha, we have come along in this journey, life after another, accumulating tons of karma. And then this life is a result of our accumulated karmas in this samsaric journey, samsaric cycle. If I give another reference, there's a sutra which is describing about this journey, and that in that sutra Buddha describes what are the new karmas and what are the old karmas. The Buddha mentions the old karmas. What are the old karmas? Probably we might think about the past lives, and maybe we can imagine something else. We can describe it in different way. So the existing life, this current life, simply these six sensory experiences are all karma. We had accumulated enough karma to be a human, which was in a good manner. So as we had accumulated wholesome deeds, good karmas, then as a result of that, we are having a human life. To be a human, we had been virtuous in the samsaric cycle. Otherwise, we never be a human. So, as a result of our previous karmas, now we have these six sense bases. And then that we call the outcome of our previous karmas, or it calls all karmas. Then what is the new karma is? The Buddha describes whatever the sensory experience we go through or we have as an object. It could be sights, tastes, smell, sounds, tangible contacts, or any type of thoughts. Those are the present experience of these six sense bases. And whatever we experience through the senses at the moment, they become the new karma. They become as the new karma. Then we all are accumulate lots of karma by experiencing the external sensory objects. And that called new karma. It is hard to eradicate or remove which was done in the past. But it is easy to work on what is in the present. Therefore, the Satipatthana Sutra provides more important details those who actually practice these teachings. This is something that we should apply to the life. It is not just to talk about. And also, it is not only about the Buddhists, it is not only about the meditators, it is about the human life. There's no separation, there's no division, there's no conflict between any of the race or color or the gender. Anyone could apply these teachings if they are willing to. So, as we all are experiencing our six senses, it is wise to have somewhat protection for these six senses in order to prevent the accumulation of dangerous karmas which take us around this samsaric cycle, bringing the rebirth one after another. So let's make a conversation around this, how these things are happening. According to Satipatthana Sutra, Buddha describes how these six sensory bases generate suffering to the life. and also how and when and where the suffering cease. So I'm going to get the reference from this teaching from the noble truth of origin of suffering. I will just read, probably you can see it, but I will read and then everyone can understand how it goes. And what, monks, is the noble truth of the origin of suffering? It is that craving which gives rise to rebirth, bound up with pleasure and lust, finding fresh delight now here, now there. That is to say, sensual craving, craving for existence and craving for non-existence. That's the definition for origin of suffering, which is common, which is understandable, and which is everyone is aware of. Then the sutra describes how this suffering originates. And where does this craving arise and establish itself? Wherever in the world there is anything agreeable and pleasurable, there this craving arises and establishes itself. So where this suffering, where this samsara come to be, and where this samsara is originating, sometimes we just look far away and we search for it. And we've been studying the teachings and we've been practicing this. And we have different type of interpretations, though sometimes we forget about where we are and then where we have to purify ourselves. If I recall another teaching, this is in common, actually, it's a common teaching for Buddhists, and sometimes I make it, I simplify it when I talk to mostly non-Buddhist communities to make sense without having any misunderstanding about the teachings. There was a deity called Rohitassa, Devaputta Rohitassa. And after a while, he visited the Buddha. Then Buddha said, I haven't seen you for a while. What happened to you? Then Buddha, the Rohitassa said, Bhante, I was traveling to find out the beginning of the world and the end of the world. Then Buddha asked, did you find it? He said, no. He said, except the resting times, I was traveling to find out. But I couldn't find it. I couldn't make it. Then Buddha said, you cannot find out the beginning and the end of the world by traveling. That because you travel with the world. So what he refers as the world, these six sensory bases. We talk about the world. We talk about the freedom, and we talk about the peacefulness of the world, and we talk about the calmness of the world, and we talk about different type of happenings in the world, and then we talk about them, and we worry, we lament, we sad, and sometimes we enthusiastic and happy. But what's the world? The Buddha explained the world is within this physical body. We have six sensory objects to experience within this body, and that is our own world. That is our own world. And we should have a control of it. We should have control of it, that because we haven't set up the parameters, the boundaries for this world. Therefore, we have whole bunch of experiences through these six sensory objects, which is necessary, which is unnecessary. And many of the practitioners is unable to sort out what is necessary to the practice and what is unnecessary to the practice. We just wander around because we all have fickle mind. The mind is so fickle, and it drags us. It drags us here and there, and it drags for the necessities and the unnecessities. So therefore, it is better to understand, it is better to pay attention to these six senses in order to prevent, in order to suppress, in order to eradicate the suffering that we are going through. Instead of worrying about others' behaviors, others' lifestyle, and others' conducts, the Buddha asked us to focus on ourselves and work out with our own experiences to get rid of this samsaric cycle. So where this and how this suffering exists through these six sensory experiences, according to this teaching, whatever the pleasure, to agreeable, and it comes to be here, and it arises here, it remains here with our experience. So we experience the eyes, and we experience the sights through the eyes. and we experience the sounds through the ears, and the taste, the smell, and the tangible contacts, and also overall thoughts. So, when we experience the sights, the eyes, we cannot run away from them, we cannot escape from them if we are not mindful or wise. According to the Buddha, Yoniso Manasikara, the wise attention, is the only thing that we can prevent these experiences. And we might know how we can apply Yoniso Manasikara or wise attention in order to prevent these experiences. And the important thing is, the eyes cannot absorb or experience any of the sights without having the eye range. Simply, if we are blind, there's no sights. There's no sights. And there's no such experience. If we are deaf, there's no such experience. And so forth. We experience whatever in the present, whatever we could absorb, and whatever we can go through. And also, just think about the past. We can never see the past, which belongs to the past. It's already gone. We never see the future, unless if you are a predictor. So, we can only experience the present moment through the eyes. We have seen things, but we cannot recall them. We can recall them, but we cannot see them. We can imagine, we can bring our memories, so we can reflect on them, but we cannot bring the sights back because it's gone. So, then what will happen with these present experiences to you, to us? Because the past is gone, it is past, and there is no future. We are just experiencing the present moment, and we do have these present sights with us. Mostly I will try to stay with this one of the sense, then we can understand the other sense altogether. So when we experience the sights or the eyes in the present moment, now we know the blind person cannot see, then there's no direct experience for that person. But the person who can see, who's capable of seeing, and that person experiences the sight. What happens? When a sights come to be, and then the person goes with that experience because it could be pleasurable, it could be agreeable, and it should be lustful, desirable, and which is pleasant. Do you think that we only have and we only crave for pleasurable experiences? No. We have to think about, and we have to include more details, interpret it. And also, we fight for unpleasant experiences as well. We fight for unpleasant experiences as well. And this unpleasantness builds another suffering for us. So therefore, just imagine what we can see and then we experience it. Do you think that we absorb everything what we see? And do you think that we go through and we generate suffering or the karma with everything what we can see? No. It doesn't happen in that way. If I refer another sutra here, which is Mahatipadopama Sutra, in the Elephant Footprint Sutra in middle length of discourses, then Buddha says, if we are able to see, then we have ability of seeing. There are sights, but if you haven't paid attention for the sights, and if you're not conscious about it, and there's no mental proliferations there, there's no sankhara, there's no mental constructions, and we cannot see, but there are sights, and there is no consciousness about it, then there is no mental constructions. And then we can see the agreeable or pleasurable or whatever the sights are come to be. And there's a consciousness arise in between them. And then we absorb it and we think about it. And then we create the whole journey of suffering, which is pleasurable or displeasurable. Again, if we cannot see, but there are sights, it doesn't work out. If we can see, there are sights, but still we are not conscious about them, it doesn't make any sense there. But we can see and we can experience the sights, and we are aware of it and we are fully paid attention for it and we conscious about it, then that is where this journey begins. So likewise, then when we experience these senses, which is agreeable, which is disagreeable, which is pleasurable, and then we make our whole world with that experience. It is like this, that there's another simile from the teaching. A cow spend time to consume food, and the cow keep eating throughout the day, and end of the day he comes to his resting place and lies down, and these cows have nothing to worry about the world. They don't watch movies, they don't watch news, and they do not have any entertainments, and they don't have any gossips, they don't have anything to recall. They just lie down with a free mind. The only thing is that the cow has to do that as a habit. He just vomits what he has eaten throughout the day and chew it back and swallow it. There's a simile for humans, for beings, especially for humans. What we do, we just absorb and we just suck all the experiences throughout the day from here and there, sitting with newspapers, sitting with the television, and absorbing all this nonsense from the world, all the violence from the world, necessarily and unnecessarily. And then we begin to discuss. We bring all this nonsense to our dining table, and we begin to share them. We begin to experience them. Instead of consuming the delicious food, we just vomit out that all these unnecessary experiences through our senses, and we begin to recall and we discuss about it. And that is where this suffering, ignorance, craving, desire, pleasure, and whatever the karma or whatever the experience exist and generate there. Which is present, which is happening in the present moment. So therefore, just imagine how much time that we spend uselessly through these senses, which is bringing horrible samsaric experiences during this journey. So, for the sights, for the eyes, and also the nose, tongue, the body, and everything, the sounds and everything come to be with us, with our experiences through these five senses. Then I have to single out the mind as a sense to give another example. So once someone asked from the Buddha, who experiences this five sensory experiences, objects? Then Buddha said, the mind experiences all these five experiences through the senses. And the mind tastes the beds. Even though we can see, if the mind doesn't want to see, we cannot see. We have the eyes, but we cannot experience it. And the consciousness doesn't work through it. And also, the mind has this much capacity to store all these experiences. And once the five senses done their job, and then mind has accumulated all these experiences, subjects, and mind can recall them, but the eyes cannot recall. The nose cannot recall. The tongue, the ears, the body cannot recall. They just had the experience and then they're done with the job. Then mind can recall, but it doesn't belong to the eyes when it recalls. It just belongs to only to the mind, which comes as a mental construction state. So then, how this process happens? That's what in this sutra describes word by word. Let's just go through it, and then we can have a somewhat understanding how it happens. So here in this section, the Buddha overall describes what happens with the first experience. Then consciousness. There are 6 consciousness, which is the eye consciousness, ear consciousness, nose consciousness, tongue consciousness, and body consciousness, and the mind consciousness. Consciousness is a big topic from the previous, but remember, the consciousness defines as a recognition of the object. So we cannot experience the sensory objects unconsciously. The consciousness is the major component part to make the bridge in between the internal and external sense. And then we go through it and we experience it. Then the eye contact, all the contacts, the consciousness make the relationship between the internal and external faculties. Then consciousness become a reason for this craving, for this pleasure, and that is where this pleasure or the displeasure establishes and arises. And also, again, that contact, phassa we call in Pali, that come to be the experience. And all these contacting means we get the actual experience through it. And once we are fully aware of the object, then we judge it. The judgment comes with the feelings. We decide it is good, it is bad, it is pleasurable, it is displeasurable. It is something we should hold, it is something we should let go. And we make the judgment there, feelings. Sukha Vedana, Dukkha Vedana, and Adukkama Sukha Vedana. We make and we generate all these feelings throughout these sensory experiences. And even right now, sometimes, I bet, you might have somewhat feeling about this conversation. You might have some feeling, oh, this sermon is so boring. I'm not surprised about it. And sometimes we might think, oh, this is good. You might feel happy or unhappy. Sometimes you might think, oh, it's wasting of time. It's not a surprise because those feelings, those experiences could be with you because now you are experiencing your senses. Who knows what is going on? So therefore, feelings are come to be right now. So feelings is a reason to generate this craving. And then it comes to be perceptions for all these sensory experiences. We call sanya. And we compare our previous experiences and the present experiences, and then we build the journey. Don't we compare our previous perceptions to the present experiences? We just do it. And if it is really new, that's a present experience. But when it became the previous, the past one, then suddenly we recall it and we compare and we regenerate and recondition all these experiences. And then volitional formations, volitions, sankhara. Sankhara means mental constructions. Having these experiences, we just recall or we just absorb all these experiences, objects, then we process them and build the construction. So build the whole mass of suffering. And then tanha, craving. We crave for those experiences. Even we crave for Dhamma, which is good. Craving to Dhamma is good. And at some point, we have to let it go too. Once you let go, the craving, so when we let go, that's the moment we enlightened. And until then, we have to work for it. We have to crave for it to reach the Nibbana. We have to desire, but this craving is much better. And that crave, once we crave or once we have this process, then vitakka, thinking, thoughts come to be through the sensory experiences. Just imagine how we just keep recalling and reflecting on these experiences. And they make stories. We make stories from them. That's the thinking. We bring the memory to the present and then we create our own stories. So that's why we have lots of stories. Oh, that's why we have to talk a lot when we gather. Non-stop talking, non-stop conversations. Sometimes it's hard to be silent because we haven't trained that way. Even at the retreats, some people cannot keep the silence for a few days. It's so hard to them to be silent even at a retreat, but they pay thousands of money to attend to the retreats and they just waste the time and the money there. Those are just simple things. And what happens? Nothing to blame. That's the journey and that's a habit. So thinking means vitakka. All these necessary and unnecessary thoughts come to be. Only the wise and the mindful person can handle them. Unwise and unmindful person or beings hardly handle them, and they cannot they cannot stop this craving process. They cannot stop this establishment of craving. And then pondering, vichara. So we search for them. We search for our previous experiences by comparing these present experiences. And we just spend time, days, months to search for them. That's why we are still in the samsara. So this is where this craving arises, craving establishes, and this is where this samsara exists. We think samsara is starting once we're done here, once we passed away from this life. No. That's the time we carry forward our karmas, samsara, to the recycled birth. So it exists here. The craving starts here, and the craving establishes here. That is where we have to pay attention. That is where we have to be mindful. That is where we have to be wise. And then extending these teachings, the Buddha says, where this suffering, where this craving, where these attachments detach and cease, and where we can overcome this suffering, this craving. No need to run here and there. It just here. So where this suffering exists, craving exists, it is here with these 6 sensory experiences. And where this suffering cease, where this craving cease and abandoned and eradicated and let go, it's here. It's right now, at the moment, it's here, this suffering ceases. Then we have to work to go upstream in order to stop this craving and stop this establishment of craving which brings the suffering. And we suffer, simply think about, we just suffer with our experiences. But we point out, we blame elsewhere, we blame others, but where these problems, where these matters, where this suffering exists, it's here. And then that is where we have to look at, not somewhere else. Then where this craving abandoned or liberate from and detachment from, it's here in this present moment. Where it arises, that is where it ceases. Where it attached, that is where we have to detach. So try to understand here at the present moment, here and now, where this craving exists, and where this craving establishes, not somewhere else. To wrap this first portion of the conversation, I can share another story. It's a small one. One day, a person lost something else in the dark. And then he was worrying and he was searching for it under a light, street light. And another person noticed him and asked, "What are you looking for?" He said, I lost my whatever, the wallet or whatever. And then I'm just looking for it. The second person asked, "Where did you lose it?" He said, he showed the dark area. Then the person asked, "Why are you looking here?" Then he said, "Because there's no light. I just look around here." So we have to look, we have to search where we have lost, not somewhere else. So where we crave, where we generate the craving, where we generate the lust, that is where we have to search, not somewhere else. We just run here and there to find out the liberation. It's right here. It's right now. It's at the moment. So this is the advice for all the practitioners. As long as we do not apply this to our present experience or the present practice, there is no such liberation. There's no such detachment from this craving. We just run through it. There's no such experience and there's no such outcome from that time or from that our practice. So in my understanding, we have to limit our all the experiences, and we need to be mindful with all the experiences and all these happenings in the world. And we need to know the capacity of our storage, capacity of our plate, capacity of our mind. If we really want to liberate from this samsara, this is where we have to work out. This is where we have to tame. This is where we have to train. This is where we have to refrain from. This is where we have to prevent. So I will conclude here, and then we can get the questions if we have any.
Thank you very much, Bhante, for that very useful discussion we had, because what Bhante mentioned is something of practical usefulness to everyone, because craving is something that everyone is trying to see how they can overcome this craving and the six senses that are responsible for it. So I think all our Dhamma friends who have listened to it, if you have any questions, kindly send them through Q&A. So since Venerable Vajrarame Jnanasiha Thero is present here with us, Venerable Vajrarame Jnanasiha Thero is a senior priest at the Vajrarame temple. So he normally attends all our Dhamma talks and also gives Dhamma talks at our Dhamma programs. So can I invite Venerable Vajrarame Jnanasiha Thero to give some comments or any questions that you may have.
I think it's a very, very clear disposition, very simple, and put it very nicely. The only one thought that came to me when he was discussing about karma as to why he did, did not mention about Chetana, Ang Bhikkhave Kammang Vadami, that aspect, because, we come across through our senses, we many things, but the thing is, if there is no Chetana, could come, it's very clear. But the thing is, I know that as to why you did not, I did not tell you about it, Venerable Sir, but the thing is, you didn't mention, that's why I just brought it up.
Bhante, you like to speak on that matter that was raised?
Well, so he just explained it, and thank you for your explanation, Bhante. Yeah, the Chetana come to be the karma, but so it's so like this then. We quote out Chetanaham Bhikkhave Kammang Vadami only. But according to me, it is a part of the teaching. The Buddha mentions Chetanaham Bhikkhave Kammang Vadami Cheta Itva Kammang Karoti Kayena Vacha Manasa. So the mind is the major, and then mind processes. And the mind has its own karma, own actions, which is mental actions. And then that mental action leads to the verbal action. Then the verbal action leads to the physical action. Then overall, these three actions come to be the karma separately, individually. So Chetanaham Bhikkhave Kammang Vadami, yes. The thought process or the thoughts or the mind objects could be karma. They become karma when they are putting in an action. These thoughts should become an action as a mental action, then as a verbal action, then a physical action. Then they become karma. So in the last part of this teaching, in the first section, it says thinking and pondering or vitakka or vichara and mental constructions. Mental construction is simply, which is where we establish this or bring these karmic actions through the mind, and then whatever we talk, they become the verbal action and the process to the karma, and then the physical action. So there are a few questions here.
Yeah, we will take the questions. I'm just asking our panelists here whether they have any comments. But may I ask Miss Donna, who's from Canada, do you have any questions or clarifications that you would like to ask?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Right, thank you. Okay, we will take the questions, Bhante. So, shall I read the questions? Or?
Please. Yeah.
Right. First one is from Ranjit Tabru. I think Ranjit is always quite attentive and been present at all our Dhamma talks and always asking various clarifications and questions. Venerable Sir, since we have no idea what our past karmas are, other than in Anantarika
karmas.
karma, right? Anantarika karma. Can we overcome the bad karmas with good actions or karmas in this birth?
That's a good point. So I can refer few sutras for those. And there's a Sanka Dhamma Sutra in Samyutta Nikaya, which is connected discourses. And there are a few sutras. If you go through Gamini Samyutta, in Salayatana Samyutta, and probably you can find some of the relevant answers for it. Actually, the meaning of karma, I mean, we cannot wash away our past. We cannot wash out our past. But the only thing that we can do is, according to my understanding, we have the ability of working here to prevent the hardness of that previous karma. And do not forget that outcome is not following us, which we have done in the past. The past doesn't mean from the last birth or the previous birth. It could be in this life as well. And we cannot completely wash away, but we can work to reduce the pressure of that karma, some of the karmas, not everything. And that Sanka Dhamma Sutra describes it very well. Sanka Dhamma Sutra describes it very well. I don't remember the names of in that sutra, but the context of it is one of the students of another ascetic came to the Buddha and said, my teacher teaches if someone acts mostly with a certain thing, or if someone do things mostly, and that person will take to the hell because of that karma, or because of that action. And then Buddha said, according to your teacher, anyone cannot go to the hell. Why? Let's say, if someone kills or steals or sexually misconducts or lies or intoxicates, let's say a person could commit to these misbehaviors maybe in the morning, maybe in the afternoon, maybe in the evening. One of the times. Could be morning, could be afternoon, could be evening. Only once. What he's doing mostly, is he committing to these actions, or he just being away from them? Then if he does, he commits only once, then the other times are just empty or free. It's not doing anything for that. It's not what he does mostly. He just stay away from these actions. If so, he never goes to the hell. Why? He's just doing nothing. Then Buddha said, one can teach. There are teachers who teach their students, or if someone commit to kill or steal, so forth, and that person can end up in the hell. Then these students begin to think, oh, my teacher taught killing is bad, stealing is bad. I have committed killing, stealing, then I will go to the hell. Then that person, the students keep repeating these actions. They rebuild, they recondition, and that thought process or that karma that they brings karma, then create karmas, and they will go end up in the hell because they are making their journey towards that. And then again Buddha said, there's a teacher and he teaches killing is inappropriate, killing is bad, stealing is bad, and all these misconducts should be stopped. And a person who follows that teacher's teaching and he understands, oh, my teacher disagree with these misbehaviors and he has taught the repercussions. I have done these actions, though my teacher teaches the way of liberating from these karmas and develop myself, then I should focus on that. Knowingly, there will be repercussions that follower just keep away the previous actions and work out here in order to detach from all these samsara and these experiences, and he works with that, and then he will be liberated himself, but outcomes will be there. He doesn't worry about it. The pressure will be reduced. But these great 5 karmas is unable to wash away or eradicate right away without having the repercussions.
Thank you, Bhante. I will, next is anonymous attendee. Example, when we see something for the naked eye, we are well aware about it, but we will not get attracted to our feelings with that experience. How can we maintain to have this type of an experience?
Well, so just simple answer is a practice. The practice means being wise and establishment of wise attention and frequent practice. The consistency of the practice and the application of the teachings would be the answer for it for now. But it depends how often you are attentive for the practice.
Thank you, Bhante. The next question is from Senath Samaranayaka. Sankara, within brackets, mind formations, on a sensory object creates sansara. Is this statement correct?
Well, sankhara, volitional formations, mental constructions, and proliferations, all these synonyms are come to be. Yes, sensory object creates sansara. Yes, in the sense, yes.
Right. Next question is from Anoja Vijayasekara. Venerable Sir, you gave an excellent explanation. Much merit to you. Can you explain a few tips to catch our minds to prevent it from going into proliferation and craving?
I think the same answer for that I gave to an anonymous attendee.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bhante. Next one is from Kamini Raban. Venerable Bhante, could you please explain what is Adukkam?
Adukkama Sukha Vedana.
Adukkamma Sukha Vedana.
Yeah.
Adukkam.
So, Adukkama Sukha Vedana, it's quite a big topic. In the teachings, it comes, see, pleasurable experience or the Sukha Vedana is visible. Then Dukkha Vedana is visible. Adukkama Sukha Vedana is invisible. It's hard to understand. And Adukkama sukha vedana, in another sense, it says upekka, also, which is hidden, which is not visible, and it's completely not the pleasurable feelings. It's not a half of pleasurable feeling, not the half of unpleasurable feelings. It's the unknowingness of these other experiences. According to me, my understanding, it's the unknowingness, simply avijja is the definition for it. Why I am saying it? Because the Buddha says to prevent, to eradicate pleasurable feelings, we have to practice foulness and patikula manasikara, and then for the unpleasurable feelings, we need to practice metta, loving kindness, and for this, we have to practice vipassana. Only the vipassana teaching, vipassana practice can make sense or find the answers for adukkama sukha vedana. Adukkama sukha vedana does not mean as a half of pleasure or the displeasure. It's the unknowingness of the other experiences or pleasant feeling or the unpleasant feelings, and which is hidden actually. It's kind of numb. That's the horrible matter of this experience. Pleasant is present, unpleasant is present, which is understandable, which is visible, but the adukkama sukha vedana is quite difficult, but it can be eradicated only through the vipassana.
Thank you, Bhante. The next one is from Hiro Yuki. Does a craving to learn and spread Buddha's teaching cause suffering? I think not, though.
I can give a long comment and I can give a short comment too. So, spreading the Dhamma is good in a good manner, but without fighting, without contradicting with other denominations, and without fighting, without judgments, if we could just only teach out of compassion, which is good, but the current world is trying to put the Buddhism with their personal views and opinions to the world, which does not make sense. So have somewhat willingness, intention. I don't define as only a craving. It's a willingness. It could be faithfulness. It could be confidence. And yes, we could do it out of compassion for other beings, seeing how they suffer and expecting them to free from this suffering.
Thank you, Bhante. The next one is from, I think that's from Shanta Senara. Honorable Bhante, does it mean that the deaf and blind people accumulate less karma as no consciousness is created in their mind and they are all at advantage in the samsara cycle?
Well, they became blind and deaf or whatever the disability because of their previous accumulated karmas, and they have committed. And also in this cycle, in this rebirth, in this birth, if they are blind or deaf or whatever the disability, this can be a discriminatory things when we talk about more, but we have to be careful in the West especially. But anyway, we have to talk the truth. the blind person cannot experience the eyes or whatever the sense, and that person has more ability of experiencing the other senses than the disabled sense. So they will accumulate karmas only from their active sense, not the inactive sense. And also, they also accumulate karma, and if they are wise enough, they can use this active sense to overcome this samsara and get the advantage of it, and nothing to worry about their blindness or the deafness or anything. And simply they can just forget about their inactive sense. Nothing to, there's no such consciousness from these sense. And if I refer Mahahatti Padopama, Chulhati Padopama sutras, just go through them, and then you can see how Buddha describes those.
Thank you, Bhante. There is a comment from Chandani Samarsingha. Venerable Sir, much merit to you. Wonderful explanation. There is a question from Shavindra Fernando, Venerable Bhante. How can the senses be identified looking at the unknown known mind to later what is right craving later?
I think I didn't get the question.
How?
What he meant. It might be something else in the mind, but I couldn't get the question.
The unknown known, right? Right, Bhante. I just have one small. I think if Bhante, I think when I spoke to Bhante, Bhante was very busy traveling to the different states, really because for the Katina celebrations. I think for the benefit of all our Dhamma friends, can Bhante say a few words about the importance of the Katina Pinkama?
Sure. So again, it's a long story. Let's try to short it out. Katina is a very big traditional practice today in the Buddhist world, which is started simply at the Buddha's time. And the traditional practice is always support for the spirituality, to enhancement of spirituality, as long as we get the benefit out of that practice. And Katina does not define only as just offering as a robe. It's a process of meritorious deed, meritorious actions. And the only thing that I want to mention here, if you have somewhat criticism for it, have some wise criticism, not unwise criticism for it, because this stated by the Buddha, proclaimed by the Buddha, and also later it has been developed and decorated from different cultural expectations. And therefore, when we discriminate or when we criticize the Buddha's teachings, we should be aware of, and we should be very wise before we make comment that can harm to our practice mentally sometimes. So therefore, Katina is an important part of the cultural aspect, and also which can generate good karmas by attending for various wholesome deeds. It also supports for the meditation practice and so forth. If I may add another thing, Professor, sometimes it's so hilarious for me sometimes. It's so funny because meditators think Dana and Sila is not necessary than meditation. And these donors or who brings dana for monks and who donate, and they think we still have enough time to get ready ourselves for meditation, and they devaluate these practices. We should not do it. It should have a balance in the practice. The Buddha taught dana, sila, bhavana as the meritorious deeds. That's the foundation. Then that leads us towards nibbana, and that makes our path easier and clear and confident and comfortable and safe. So therefore, do not pick things only fitting to you. Just see overall. Get the whole idea of the practice. Otherwise, we are unbalanced in the practice. If we haven't done any meritorious deed, generosity, practicing sila, there's no way to practice nibbana. So therefore, reaching nibbana, I was delivering some ideas years back. That's why Donna met to me in Edmonton. So my topic was prior to nibbana. We have to establish the humanness, human qualities before we reach nibbana. If we do not practice the humanness, there is no nibbana. Doesn't matter whoever you are. So therefore, whatever the meritorious deed is appreciated, but we should have some understanding about our capacity and our parameters.
Thank you very much, Bhante. I think we pay much merit to Bhante because Bhante has sacrificed this 1.5 hours. I think it was very useful to our Dhamma friends who are attending it because it's very much of practical importance and where one could practice in order that they could attain Nibbana. So I will now invite, we have some of our committee members in overseas. So I think Senaka Samarasinghe is one of our members from the beginning. So we are very thankful to him for arranging Bhante to give the Dhamma talk today. So we also have our committee member, Udaya Ganepala, who is based in New Jersey, USA. And I will now invite Udaya to pay thanks and merit to Bhante.
So, thank you, Professor Lakshman. First, I want to express on behalf of our International Dhamma Program, the committee, and our listeners, our deep gratitude to Bhante Suseela for coming out today so compassionately and talk to us about this very deep topic, quoting examples from Dhamma and his own experience. I think that's a very valuable thing for us. Bhante, you put the seed in our head to understand this seemingly very deep subject. And I think it is very useful for us to go from here. And again, I want to express our gratitude and give our much merits for doing that. You answered your questions and answer sessions is really great. I think it's a lot of information. I had some questions during the course, and I think some questions were raised very well. And want to thank for our participants who put questions in there, and then the answers they got, I'm sure they're all satisfied. It's a very great Dhamma session we had. Thanks to all of you. And again, many more merits to Bhante. Thank you.
Thank you, Udaya. Can I now invite Bhante Suseela, who has been with us during the 1.5 hours. We just exceeded maybe just 5 minutes to deliver merit to the devas and the departed. Sadhu, sadhu.
So let's share these accumulated merits with all heavenly beings and deities, and may they partake these merits and fulfill their wishes, and may they protect us day and night, as well as all the departed beloved relatives and friends of our families, and may they partake these merits and may they fulfill their wishes wherever they are. With that intention, we may recite the gathas. Akasattha cha bhummattha devanaga mahiddhika punyantang anumoditva chiram rakhantu sasanam chiram rakhantu desanam chiram rakhantu tvang sada idang me nyate nang hotu sukita huntu nyatayo. By the power of these accumulated merits, Yola may be able to overcome this samsaric cycle, finally attain to the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Much merit to Bhante, and we are very thankful for this very devoting this generous time and telling our Dhamma friends of the samsaric cycle and how they can overcome. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Yo.
So we will now end this program. Thank you. Sadhu.